Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagenow, and we are back here in the Hendderson Library at the Center for the Preservation of Western Civilization at ITR World Headquarters in central Iowa. John Hendrickson and myself ready to thrill and excite you today on the gold standard in Iowa conservative entertainment. John, let's do this.
Yes, yeah.
Excited. Are you drinking a soda?
Yes, yeah.
I don't see that very often.
No.
Is it because we finally got it cooled off in the office, so you need a nice cool, refreshing drink?
Yes, yeah.
It's cold in here.
It is, yeah.
It's real cold in the office. So we've been in here for about a year now in the library.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten the HVAC dialed in.
No.
So, but okay, so as between the time that I actually pressed record on the camera and I was looking through the little viewer and I saw you sitting there, getting your notes together, I had an idea. If it gets any colder than this, we're going to bring in heavy winter coats. We're going to go Bob and Doug McKenzie on this.
Yes.
You think we can do it?
Yeah.
All right. I thought you'd appreciate that. It's just something about it struck me that I think we could pull that off. Okay, so it's cold in the studio, but we're going to get things warmed up now. Okay. John, we got a fair amount to talk about today. I want to kick this off. I sometimes forget this at the front end. Well, let me preface this. We're going to talk, do a little political roundup, what's going on in politics, and talk a little bit about this Des Moines School Board business. First of all, our regular feature is the Hendrickson Trivia Contest, brought to you by the folks at the Henderson Library.
Yes.
What do you got for us today, John?
Yeah, well, nobody, as far as I know, nobody answered the last question. So the last question was we were looking for who was the Iowan who was a member of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal Brain Trust from Sioux City, Iowa.
Yeah.
And it was Harry Hopkins.
Okay.
So,
did we get a winner on that one?
No,
I can't remember.
Nope.
That's a little bit arcane.
Yeah.
What do you got today?
Today's, I think, very interesting. So next week, October 20th, is a birthday of a New York politician. He was part of the Tammany Hall political machine of the Democratic Party. He was born in 1819. He became a Union general during the Civil War.
Oh, wow.
And on July 2nd, 1863, he disobeyed orders and moved his entire corps forward and created a huge problem for the Union Army.
Okay.
He suffered a severe leg wound, had his leg amputated. He survived that wound, and later on he donated his leg to the Army Medical Museum, and he would actually go visit his leg after the Civil War. Can
you still go visit the leg?
Yes, yeah.
Seriously?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is he's the first person that actually utilized the temporary insanity plea for defense, because he basically shot and killed the gentleman who was having an affair with his wife.
There's a lot here, John. This is
who was Philip Barton Key, the son of Francis Scott Key. So this is an interesting story. So
all right, put your thinking hats on. I feel like that's a lot, but So about the time I get us ready to move on, I'm worried there's going to be more.
Nope. I just wanted to throw that in because it's interesting.
It's sort of like the 1800s version of Maury Povich or something.
Yeah.
But here he is. He's an Iowan. Have at it, folks. Okay. Just a little housekeeping, John. We'll round up on what's going on in Iowa politics. We said we'd check in on this from time to time. In the governor's race, I don't know that we know exactly. I've been led to believe there's going to be one more entrant into the governor's race on the Republican side. Someone with, I think, a fair amount of money who is able to self-fund. And I'm not going to give any more than that because I hate breaking that until I can really lock down for sure that I think we're going to have it. But I would expect one more at least well-funded entrant into the governor's race. And that is still, even though now we're here in October, I think that whole race is still kind of up in the air. There's a lot of game left to be played in this governor's race.
Yes.
I'm just going to leave it at that. The U.S. Senate race, we have, well, before that, third quarter fundraising results are being posted right now. I saw pretty impressive numbers out of Joe Mitchell in the 2nd District, Northeast Iowa. And I saw that Chris McGowan posted a pretty good number in the 4th District up in Northwest Iowa. It will come as no surprise to anyone, but soon-to-be Senator Ashley Hinson's, presumably, is going to post a monster number because she has proven herself to be a very prolific fundraiser. So that's all there. And maybe the most interesting of all this is Jackie Norris is still in the race, John. So straight from the Des Moines School Board to the Democratic nomination for United States Senate. She may still be the nominee there. They have a lot of that's a wide open field, but she's connected. She's a pro, and I'm not sure that this whole scandal with the Des Moines School Board is a negative in a Democratic primary. I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, that's. And there was a new candidate from Coralville that went in on the Democrat side. He was calling for I think he called it a new Atlantic platform.
What does that mean?
Well, it was to counter America first, and I'm not sure what he meant by that, but
so like a League of Nations sort of platform, or
it could have been, yeah.
I don't know,
but
no, that's interesting. At least there's an idea in there.
Yeah,
like I that alone, I'd at least like to hear what he had to say. Yeah. I'm not going to agree with him.
Yeah, he had, when I read, I should have brought his name up, but I read this, I think it was in Radio Iowa that had the story, but he made some good points about, becoming less dependent on China for rare earth minerals, which I would agree on that.
Completely, well, not completely off the subject, but I did not plan to. I saw a headline today, and I haven't had a chance to read the article. We've talked within the idea of trade about the need for national security in certain industries and sectors. I saw that our friends at J.P. Morgan were going to start, it was some quote, I think, from Jamie Dimon about how they were going to make significant investments into domestic industries that needed to be supported. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not the only one that's thinking about this right now. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm going to go read that and come back around on that because...
Yeah, he had an article in the Wall Street Journal this week about that.
Was
yes.
that what I saw?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't get a chance to read it, but smart guy who's got, I think has dipped his toe in the water on running for office in the past. But anyway... former Congressman Rod Blum announced that he is not going to be running for Congress this year. That was kind of a U-turn. You and I had talked, expected him to be maybe not the front runner, but certainly, compelling in that race.
Yes,
but, something changed there, so he's not in there. And if anything else we've missed here, John, I wanted to get our folks up to date and all of that, but. Yeah, the fundraising reports, maybe we can pick that apart a little bit more, but not everyone has filed. The money isn't everything, and especially when you go forward to a general election in the fall, because that's funded by the big money from D.C., but it is important in these primary elections to find out who's really got something going, because it's expensive, whether we like it or not.
Yes, yeah.
It is expensive to run. So we're going to come around, probably have a special episode on this later, but the Revenue Estimating Conference meets tomorrow, John. What should we be looking for? What do you expect out of that?
Well, that's it's going to be very interesting. I don't want to make any predictions on that. I think there's going to be a lot of people paying attention to this. One thing that I noticed that was a little bit concerning was and I don't know if you saw this as well earlier this week, and I think it was Moody's and their economist, Mark Zandi, came out and basically listed 22 states that were in recession, and Iowa was one of those states.
That doesn't surprise me.
And so that's a concern. And so what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow is what do they, what are the comments that the three members have to say on the economy, and is there going to be agreement, and is there, will there be any division in terms of, their forecasts, and usually there's agreement, but sometimes there can be some disagreement. But this is a challenging time.
I think we will. I don't know about the agreement so much, but there's a couple of factors that we sort of know going into this, and it'll be interesting to see how they get their minds around it. One is, at least for the first couple of years, revenue is a little bit below expectations coming into the state treasury. The beginnings of the fiscal year sometimes get a little wobbly, so and the last month wasn't as bad. So I don't know. We'll see what they have to say about that. And secondly, we are still waiting for official guidance from the Department of Revenue on the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill on state tax collections. And I guess it seems to me they would probably be looking to factor that into the next REC. And in years past, the Revenue Estimating Conference would set the limit for how much the legislature could spend. Well, we've got so much in surplus that it doesn't have a real functional limit on anything because they can still spend. It's on available revenue, not ongoing revenue. But it is really interesting as we try to extrapolate out what sorts of spending decisions does the legislature need to make to keep us on track in the out years. And we know that it works, and it's just, we know that there is spending discipline, ongoing spending discipline is going to be necessary, but just how much spending discipline, does that make sense?
Yep.
And so we'll get a fresh look at that at this October REC. So we'll unpack all that for you all in our next episode and really geek out on numbers, because that's what we like to do, right, John?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Anything else on REC or the state of the economy?
No, I just, one thing I'll say is just I think a huge issue of debate that will come up within the REC will be continue debate over the tariffs, and especially with the pertaining to soybeans, and then of course the shutdown, and also as long as the government remains shut down, they can't get the $15 billion bailout that the president has proposed.
I haven't followed the shutdown maybe as close as some have. Frankly, it hasn't impacted my life. And so I don't, let's just keep going. And I don't want to be flippant about it, because there are certain services that folks depend on that they're not necessarily in jeopardy, but they're delayed. But where do you see the shutdown going from here, briefly? I mean, I don't get the sense we're any closer to resolution than we were a week ago.
I don't think so. It seems like there's both sides are digging in, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a compromise anytime soon. At least I don't see that. My uneducated take, which is gleaned solely from consuming conservative media, is that this is all the Democrats' fault. But no, I do think in the past you'd have a clean continuing resolution, and that was always the thing. And Democrats would say that Republicans had to vote for it. Well, they've been offered that, and they haven't voted for it. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe the thing that I'm watching, it looks to me like the liberal base has demanded that they extract something from Republicans in this shutdown in a way that probably would have been seen as unreasonable by either party in past shutdowns. And because, and we talked about this recently in terms of, reaction to the Des Moines School Board, is that your liberal base gets so animated about an issue is that it really becomes unmanageable for the party. I suspect that the establishment figures, call them swampy or whatever you want to talk, would love to move off of this and move on to a next battle, but they can't because their base is demanding so much out of them. And that becomes a problem, because I don't know then where resolution comes from. Yeah. They want to walk back some of the healthcare provisions of the Obamacare
sort of credits.
Yeah. And I don't think Republicans are going to budge on that.
And that is, to be fair, that's a new topic introduced into a continuing resolution debate. And I'm not enough of an expert on how that works, but that seems, you've got people screaming about fascism still with regard to a budget shutdown and Donald Trump. I don't know that that's helpful either.
No.
But here we are. So stay tuned on that with regard to Iowa and incoming revenue. Maybe it's a factor. Maybe we'll take a look at that. I don't know. There's this idea of trying to get tariff money to supplant lost revenue by soybean farmers. I haven't heard much of that lately, but that might be impacted by the shutdown as well. So anyway, that's all out there. Quickly, John, because I can't, like a moth to flame, I can't let go of this Des Moines School Board story. We talked about this in pre-production. The interim superintendent is threatening layoffs if people don't vote for this bond referendum, this $250 whatever million school bond referendum. If we don't vote for that, we'll have layoffs. I could try and go on a rant right here. I'm going to let you take a crack at it first. Seriously?
Yeah, I think that's interesting because this was supposed to be for the future and not necessarily impacting a life or
it's reimagining.
Yes, yeah,
something out in the future, not cover over budget holes in the past.
Yeah, and so I think this is a scare tactic, and we've seen this before that local governments have used. You have to pass this, otherwise, if you don't, this is going to happen, and so I think this is a way to one, scare people and also mobilize people to vote, and we're getting closer to election day, and so this is a way to.
Well, which is it? Is this to build some buildings and remodel some things and retool the district from its infrastructure to try and deliver, a better education in a different way and better skills, and is it that, and spending the money so we can adapt? Or is it just to fix a budget problem because we have declining enrollment? Because if it's the latter, that's kind of ugly, I think.
Yeah.
Instead of just fixing your cost structure, you're just going to go borrow a bunch of money and throw it at it. We can go on and on about that. Again, and I've said this in multiple venues, when Iowans said, are asked the question, should we borrow money? And it's for one specific item that they can get their minds around and see whether or not they get value out of it. I think there's a lot more tolerance for debt.
Yes, yeah.
But if it is just for a laundry list of nebulous sorts of ideas and to fill holes, then it sort of looks like you just want more of my money. Mm-hmm. You just want to go on a spending spree. And so I think they sort of shut down on that. And this is what this is starting to feel like to me. Not that every unique project needs to have a yes vote on it. I mean, I got my taxpayer-funded propaganda from Dallas County today telling me I had to vote for the new criminal court building, or there are going to be criminals out on the streets and I'd be less safe. Still doesn't make me all that excited about voting for that since I just raised my property taxes recently. But here we are. But my point stands is that I still don't think, even before this whole fiasco with Ian Roberts, that they've made the case on exactly what we're getting. And they're having these community meetings. We see them on KCCI every night, where whoever this poor community advocate goes out and to the community in the days following the national scandal, and they've got to make the case for here we need another $200-something million a year money. But anyway, it's maddening, and yet it's so fun at the same time. But here we are. Okay, so again with the Des Moines School Board, and man, we've got a lot to cover today, John. We're just getting warmed up. So this whole deal, did you see this? So we had some legislators ask the state auditor to audit the Des Moines School District, and he turned that into a political stunt.
Yes, yeah.
So you saw this, right?
Yes, yeah, yep.
And I saw this on TV last night of the Rob Sand press conference. I'm like, I can't do this. You're asking. It looked like satire to me because all the backdrop and all the easels were out and the cardboard. It looked like somebody making fun of someone giving a speech to an empty House of Representatives chamber in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
Am I wrong?
No, that's what it looked like. Yeah.
It's like, and so here we are. And, he tried to look, he doesn't want to have to go audit the Des Moines school district.
No. And
that is fraught with peril, but yet here we are. And he decides to make this into, I can't do that. You didn't follow the law, and trying to make a claim about the whatever bill number it was that the legislature passed a year or two ago that would prevent me from, investigating waste. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Do your job. That's it. I don't need all the props. I need you to tell me how you're going to do the thing you were elected to do. And no one wants to have a lesson in legislation, because almost seemingly as he's giving this press conference, the Des Moines School Board says, yes, please investigate us. I mean, it looked partisan. It just looked like small ball.
Yep.
That's all.
Well, I think it was, he tried to take both sides on this issue.
Really?
Yeah. And which is
shocked.
Yeah.
Much like he tried to take both sides of the question whether or not how many genders there were.
Yes. Yeah.
But whatever.
And so now his initial comment was taking both sides and saying to wait for more facts to come out, and now he dismissed the request by the three state senators as being silly. I think he called it silly, or now he's said that someone from the district has to bring a request forward, and now the school district, I believe, has.
I'm probably one of the last people that the Rob Sand campaign or the state auditors would ask for political advice on this. I think you should go for it. Go in there and dig into everything. And he even said that. I mean, to be fair, we joke that the Ian Roberts, the contract with the outside consulting firm that he had a stake in, that looked poor. Yeah, that looks real bad. But look, his brand has been auditing and rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, and getting to the bottom of things. I tell you what, even if you have friends in there that you'd rather not expose, or you'd rather not come out and say something negative about Iowa's largest school district, I tell you what, I would look at it as an opportunity to go in there and wave the banner and say, I'm going to get to the bottom of this in a way that nobody else can.
Yeah.
I think that's a tremendous political opportunity. Yeah. And if I were in his shoes, I would certainly look at it that way. But again, I can see pitfalls on the other side politically as well. But we'll see, because I want more answers.
Yes, yeah.
And I think they will come. I think if an audit doesn't reveal them, I certainly think the legislature is going to be asking a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
About what went on here.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to move on to this, because I do want to make sure that we give this at least some amount of time. We're already starting to look forward to the 2026 legislative session, John. And obviously the thing that most Iowans, and frankly probably our number one issue, is going to be working on property taxes and property tax reform. However, we got a new idea, and you wrote about this, and the article's up on the ITR Foundation website, about a new idea that we're going to be talking about this year on budget continuation. And this piggybacks on the conversation that we just had a few minutes ago.
Yes, yeah.
About a government shutdown.
Yeah.
But tell me what this idea is and how this might work and make things better.
Yeah. Well, this is actually an idea that you shared with me about, and I just sort of stole it from you and wrote about it.
I am not here to get credit.
Yeah.
I just won't win.
And so basically, right now, if there's a situation where Iowa had a divided government, or a situation,
anytime really.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't need, but yes,
if you had
to create these example scenarios.
Like during COVID or something, when the legislature adjourned and he didn't pass a budget. Right now, there's really nothing in code that says that Iowa's, if the legislature doesn't pass a budget, there's nothing that says that the government can continue.
What happens if the state gets to the end of the fiscal year on June 30th and they haven't passed a budget for the next year? And we went right up against it. Well, one in the COVID year, and also in 2011 when we came into the majority and Governor Branstad and Senate Democrats, and we got to, I think, the 29th or 30th before we passed the budget. So, I mean, these things, there is precedent for them.
Yes, yeah.
But under Iowa law, what you're saying is there is no guidance.
No.
It's really law silent of what happens.
Yes, yeah.
And so the proposal would be to
have what they would call a continuing resolution that would basically allow the status quo budget to continue until the legislature would pass.
And it wouldn't be up to the legislature to do anything. So no action. Would just mean we're just going to keep going with the prior year budget, right?
Yeah.
And I suppose they could structure that however they wanted. They could minus 1% or whatever, but it would just be status quo, so you don't have that threat of shutdown, right?
No.
Okay.
And that's a good thing because sometimes when there is partisan differences, and this is actually going on right now in a few states as we speak, Michigan, I believe, just resolved a budget disagreement between their governor and legislature. Pennsylvania is currently battling over their budget. North Carolina is still battling over their budget, and North Carolina does have a budget continuation. So right now it basically has that continuing resolution, so the government it's not shut down, just keeps getting funded as they work out those differences. And that's a good thing. And so it's not like D.C. where it shuts down and the process is broke. And so it brings some certainty, and also it would also prevent politicians from, basically holding the budget hostage for partisan reasons.
That's the point that really got me, because nothing's forever. We're not going to have unified control of Iowa government by one party. Things change, and look at other states, and there's two reasons for me that I'm really interested in this. And one is just that basic, it flips the burden. It flips the lever of who's got control onto whoever wants to spend the least. So you have one party that really wants to be fiscally restrained, and the other side wants a bigger increase in spending. Well, usually it's the folks that want to offer all the goodies that have the political upper hand when you get to this brinksmanship. Do you really want to go into shutdown because you want to spend less on X, Y, and Z? But if you pass a measure like this, well, now the leverage is on the side of the people that want to do less, because they can say, hey, we're willing to give you extra spending on these certain items, but if you don't want to take that offer, we can go back to status quo. And that's not what they want. So they have a lot more leverage in that budget negotiation. But you touched on the thing that I think pops up and has in other states, and certainly is this time in Washington, D.C. We talked about this. What's holding up the Congress is these Obamacare subsidies.
Yes, yeah.
Well, okay, I guess that's a budget item, but it's sort of a policy partisan battle off to the side of that, right?
Yep.
Well, what happens when you get to a budget fight in Iowa or someplace else, and there is some other piece where somebody's like, "Hey, I'm not signing a budget until you give me, whatever liberal or conservative policy change you want, until you allow, boys to get back into girls' sports. I'm not signing the budget unless you let that happen." Well, wait a minute here. That's not what the budget's about. And so you have that backstopping you, and it gives those that are negotiating these budget deals the strength and the platform to say, we're not going to entertain these ideas.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. That's absolutely right. And right now, 16 states have those continuing resolutions.
It's not a brand new, idea.
Yeah.
I look, this is something that we haven't talked about in Iowa. It's brand new. And sometimes these brand new ideas don't pass right away, but we're going to spend time just asking lawmakers to think about it. Think about what this would mean in the out years, in the future, of how this would change budget negotiations. And sometimes I can tell you that there is some reluctance to make structural changes to how the process works. And I'm understanding of that. I get it. But I think this is one that maybe as an adjustment to the process that would make it better. Because here's the thing, and we've talked about this, whether it's just political messaging or not, and this goes back years to when I was inside. We've always said we want Washington, D.C. to work more like Iowa. We don't want those problems that exist where it seems almost ungovernable. Like, let's make sure that Iowa can avoid that. And I think just at a very basic level, this is just a good governance measure. I mean, take away those negotiating parts. It's just, this will make the benefits that Iowa offers more secure, more predictable, and you don't have to fight these fights over who's getting a paycheck, who's getting a benefit check, because it will continue.
That's a good point, yeah. And that's what taxpayers expect and they deserve.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about it. I'm glad you think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
You didn't push back on it when I mentioned it to you.
No. No, I think it is. I mean, it's a good reform.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, and it should be non-controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not. It should not be a partisan issue.
No. So anyway, we'll be checking back in with that periodically moving forward, and hopefully we get good feedback from that from folks out there. So anything I forgot to cover today, John?
No, I do have one thing, though.
The answer is yes, there's something you forgot to cover. I have it for you right here.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Which is?
I'll just do this quick, but I think it's there was 2 long opinion pieces in Governing Magazine this week, or maybe last week it was. But basically it was, I thought they were quite troubling, and it's not new, but basically the written by the same author, who was a retired law professor who worked in the Obama administration. And he basically says the root of all of our national political problems, it's the fault of states, and that we need to get rid of states, and that we should only have a unitary government.
That's how I feel about local government in Iowa, John.
Yeah.
But be this as it may, let's set that aside.
And his argument is that we should get rid of states and just have a unitary government, and that so we would just have a federal government, and then he would say keep the local governments, and then but what this reminded me of was it's really the decades old argument by the progressives that constantly attack the Constitution, going back to Woodrow Wilson, that the founding fathers had made a mistake, and that the doctrines of separation of powers, federalism, had failed. And so when you read between the lines of this article, he goes right after the Electoral College. Mm-hmm. It's anti-democratic. The Senate is anti-democratic because it doesn't help the majorities of the popular will, and so what it gets the heart is not necessarily the states. It's they have a problem with the Constitution, and this goes back, as I said, to Wilson, to FDR, to a lot of the progressives that argued this, that we needed a large central government because limited government just doesn't work, and it's not fair, and it's not democratic.
I think I'd be interested in your I don't know how to tease this out, but my perspective is that for maybe some rank and file progressives, they get riled up because they want to win elections. They see the Electoral College, this goes all the way back to George Bush or Donald Trump, winning an election without winning the mythical popular vote. This is a reminder there's no such thing as a national popular vote, but we keep using it and pretending that it does. And so they just, it's about winning and losing an election. Mm-hmm. But I think you touched on what I think is really among the thought leaders here, is that is only one part of it. The real thing is building out that massive central government that then grows even larger, because my guess is this law professor's plan is not to get rid of states and devolve more power to locals. Those would just be small little administrative units, to resolve fence disputes.
Yeah.
And everything else is done by a massive national government, a massive national bureaucracy and that has always been a goal for the progressive left.
Yes. Yeah.
Am I thinking about that
that's right? Yeah. Yeah. It's in fact, you almost summarized the draft I have.
Oh,
response.
I didn't even read your draft.
Yeah.
But the things like the Senate.
Yes. Yeah.
The Electoral College, and underlying all of that, the notion of states. I suspect he probably doesn't care a lot about states if he could get rid of the Senate and the Electoral College. Mm-hmm. But that's just a fundamental precept of progressive politics: is bigger, larger, more powerful government. Right?
It is. Yes.
And the founding fathers left those the powers in the states precisely to fight against that.
Yes, yeah.
They knew the perils of that large government because they had just escaped it.
Yes, yep.
And so it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't some compromise that was flawed from the outset. It was by design to make sure that our federal government didn't grow large like that.
Yeah. And I'll just say this quick because I know we're running short, but they'll use FDR as their prime model. And one thing that FDR did is towards the end, and I believe it was 1944, he gave, in his State of the Union address, he called for a second, what he called a second Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. And he said it's, the first Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, and those are one thing. But he said we sort of outgrown those, mm-hmm. and now we need new rights. And the government has to guarantee these new rights. And so he said, you have a right to health care. You have a right to a decent job. You have a farmer has a right to a good return on their crop. And he listed a whole bunch of these different things. And so basically what Roosevelt said is that the federal government now, all these things would become fundamental rights, just like freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And education was another one, and the federal government would now provide what he called economic security, and these would be elevated as just like other natural rights, and so over time, the federal government moved these all those areas. It's not that conservatives don't care about health care, education. It's just that these areas were traditionally left to the states. And over time, the federal government just took over these issue areas, especially with Johnson's Great Society. And now today, you can see the federal, progressives saying we don't need just a second Bill of Rights. We need a third Bill of Rights.
The whole idea, it just runs contrary to the idea of rights, and you nailed it. And we don't need to go deep into political theory, but the idea of natural law is that these ideas like freedom of religion, freedom of expression, even the right to defend oneself, or those are self-evident. These other things are just benefits. They're just extensions of a large government. And there's nothing that says that this range of government benefits is right or wrong or at the right level or has to be somehow secured as the idea of right. I mean, look, the one that's been fought of my entire life politically is the so-called right to an abortion. Mm-hmm. And you're somehow equating that at the same level. And I understand the arguments the left would give me that is somehow equal to, the Establishment Clause. Well, really? I mean, there is a debatable point. I don't think there are very few Americans that would debate freedom of assembly as the same kind of fundamental natural law right. So I agree. It's fraught with peril. Look, we can have an honest conversation about the range of government benefits and how well they should be funded and how big our welfare state should be. And most often, conservatives in general aren't against that idea. It's just about the size and the scope of that idea.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess here's where I will sum my thought on this. Anytime you hear somebody talking about a right, alarm bells should go off in your mind. If it is one of those rights that is currently secured by the United States Constitution, then yes, we are here to defend that. But anytime somebody's talking about a new right, we need to be very careful what it is we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, good. You got anything else for us today, John?
No. I know that was a big topic for
That
the
was
end,
good.
but I just wanted to mention that because
I was getting ready to pull my Hobbes down off the shelf and start going about natural law, the state of nature, and okay, all right. Whew, that's been a long time. So. All right. Anyway, all right. That is definitely now all that we have for you today. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends. And with that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.